Hello and welcome to day 6 of the festival, and I'm going to keep talking about the movies I have been seeing. The next one I saw was Nexion. This is a kitchen sink South Korean drama set in a call center, and it's really good at showing the sort of knock-on effects of working in a low-paid job in a call center with these targets, and your pay is completely dependent on meeting these targets or not. The best way I can describe it for a British audience is it's like a Korean Ken Loach film. There's a great central performance by Kim Se-young in it, and it's a very enjoyable film. Unfortunately, I think aesthetically, it's rather basic. It absolutely does the realism thing totally fine, but nothing more than that. And that's a lot down to director July Jung. The sound mixing is really good, though. It really gets the feeling that you're in this office and you can hear these sort of clicks everywhere in the cinema sound mix. That's very neat. Like I said, I enjoyed the film, but in the second half, it does a bit of a change up, and I didn't feel like the second half was quite as good as the first half. It was kind of riddled with cliches, and there wasn't much intrigue in it. It did really do good at showing that kind of what seems like small matters of policy can really have knock-on human effects. But ultimately, yeah, the second half wasn't as good, and it's a bit of a shame because it doesn't really have much business being 2 hours and 10 minutes long. You could have shaved 10 minutes off that second half. Anyway, I did like the film, and I would recommend it overall, and I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. The next one I saw was Attachment, which is a really fun, queer, Jewish horror movie. One thing I really like about this film is that the character motivations and their actions are very nuanced and complex, and that's helped by the good performances, particularly by Ellie Kendrick, who I was trying to work out what she was in when I was watching the film. She was in The Leveling, which is a really good film that came out a few years ago, if you've seen it. It's got a great tone, this film. It's sort of partway between a horror movie and a rom-com, but it's not like it's in two halves. It's like they're intertwined throughout the entire film, and it just makes it really enjoyable and fun. I think ultimately it's a really great mix of fun, popcorny horror movie, and also something more character-based and cerebral, and that's very much to its strength. It's got a really great script, very funny, very witty, very clever, and I really recommend checking it out on Shudder when it comes out. So I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. Next, I saw Blue Jean, which is an absolutely fantastic British film. It's about a gay teacher during Section 28 in the Thatcher administration. It's got the two best performances of the festival so far by Rose McGowan and Lucy Halliday. Lucy Halliday is clearly a very fantastic young actor. This is her first performance, and she absolutely knocked it out of the park. You can really feel the internal conflict in both these characters, and it's just palpable and creates so much tension. The direction is really strong as well by Georgia Oakley. There's a real grit to it in that very British way, but also it's just a very pleasant film to look at, a very pleasant color palette. And it's really good at showing the human impact of Section 28 and the knock-on effects that this policy had to real people. In the Q&A, they talked about the research process for this, interviewing gay teachers who were around at the time, and it's just an outstanding work, and unfortunately, it's just all too relevant today with a lot of the prejudice going against the trans community right now. Please go see this film when it comes out in February, and I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. The next film I saw was Piaffe, which is one of the weirdest things I've seen in quite some time. It's about a woman who grows a horsetail and then goes on a voyage of self-discovery. It's shot on Super 16. It's really tactile. You can really feel the grit to it. There are intentional light leaks in the film, which highlight certain moments, and it's a very interesting look. The editing, too, has a real rhythm and pace to it, and I really enjoyed it on that front. The score as well is really interesting. It's a mix of techno music and sort of cello, chamber piece kind of stuff. The movie communicates sexuality in a rather surreal way, and I think it did it really successfully, and those scenes were clearly the set pieces of the film, and they were done very well. Ultimately, though, I kind of think this has a fairly narrow meaning. For a film so out there, I don't think I'm going to get much out of a rewatch. I still really enjoyed it, though. If this sounds like your cup of tea, I would recommend catching it. I do not know where you'll be able to see it, but still. And I will give this one a 7 out of 10. And finally, we have the film I have just walked out of, which is Bardo, Alejandro González Iñárritu's latest film. It's a masterpiece. It is a joyous film. It is surreal. It's got this amazing sense of humor. It's really layered. There's satire. There's a lot of personal self-deprecation as well, which I really like. It's going to take a while to process the film. The direction is absolutely flawless. The camera work is just impeccable. I was trying to work out how the hell they got some of these shots. There's so much going on in the frame, so much with the camera movement. They shoot it in a very ultra wide angle lens. There are surprises around every corner. I really don't want to spoil the film. I was told in advance it's his version of 8.5, and yeah, it is a bit similar to 8.5 and La Dolce Vita, but it feels completely distinct enough that it's its own thing, and I don't really have any problems on that front with the film. It's coming to Netflix. Please go see it on the biggest screen you can. It's just a feast for the eyes, the ears as well. The music is gorgeous. I mean, okay, if you can't tell, it's a 10 out of 10. I can't do it justice in an instant reaction. So yeah, thank you for watching part 2, and I will be back in part 3 with more reviews from London Film Festival.